Hello learners, welcome to this live teleconferencing session of Indira Gandhi National Open University. Today in this session we are going to discuss one of the very important topic, that is hypothesis in educational research of its first part. Before starting our discussion, let me to introduce myself. I, Dr. Niradhar De, Associate Professor, School of Education, Indira Gandhi National Open University, welcome you all to this teleconferencing session on my personal behalf and on behalf of my school, that is School of Education. Friends, today's title, that is Hypothesis in Educational Research, its part 1, has been taken from two of your courses in MA Education program. First course is, the course code is MES-016, that is Educational Research, and the second course is, that's the practical oriented course, that's the dissertation course. Course code is MESP-001, Dissertation. So today's title, the title is included in two courses. One is the theoretical course, that is MES-016 Educational Research, that you must have studied in the first year of your program, MA Education program, and the second course, that is you have to do a dissertation, you have to do a type of small research, a project, that is MESP-001, that is the dissertation. This is included in the second year of this program. So friends, many a time being the coordinator of MA Education program, I receive your queries, your questions relating to dissertation course. So how you will pursue the dissertation course and how you will prepare the synopsis or the research proposal or the dissertation synopsis for pursuing this dissertation course, and again how to carry on the research work, how to conduct the research work, and as well as how to prepare the report. So today, keeping in consideration of your regular queries and your difficulty in different aspects of conducting research in education, I have taken this title. This is one of the component of conducting your dissertation, conducting your research, that is hypothesis. We will be taking two sessions. Today I am taking the part 1 of hypothesis in educational research, and tomorrow I will be taking another session, that's the second part of hypothesis in educational research. And just for your information, I have already taken 4 different sessions, that is on sampling. That is sampling part 1, part 2, part 3 and part 4. From this session, I am just giving you such information that all the video lessons of this teleconferencing is available in the YouTube. You can go through the archive and you can find out the video lessons. If you have not attended the sessions, then definitely go through it, and most of your queries, your difficulties in conducting research in education will be solved. So friends, now let us go forward to understand the very concept of hypothesis and how you will state hypothesis so far as your MA education dissertation is concerned. Let us go forward. Now let me to focus upon some of the focused point, important discussion points that we will be discussing in this session, as well as in the next session also that we are going to conduct tomorrow. First of all, why there is the need of stating hypothesis in research is one of the important points that you will be studying. Second, what is hypothesis? What is the basic concept of hypothesis that we will be discussing. Then what are the sources of stating hypothesis? So where you will get the information and the knowledge base for stating a proper hypothesis in our study, that also we will discuss. Then further, what are the types of hypothesis, as well as how to state the hypothesis, how to write the hypothesis. So these are the major discussion points that today we will be discussing. Now let me to focus upon very briefly some of the important aspect, important components of conducting research in education, because hypothesis is one of the steps. hypothesis is one of the components. So that's why you should briefly understand about how you will proceed in your study, proceed in your research. What are the different components, what are the different phases and stages that you have to follow. It may be preparing for a research proposal as well as for conducting the study and writing the report. First of all, selecting a research problem is the first component or the first step. So, a research problem should be related with the discipline of education and related with the knowledge base and educational discourses, as this is a master dissertation in the discipline of education. So, that is why the topic that you will select, the research problem that you will select for conducting the study, somehow it should be related with the educational discourses. It may be related with the theoretical perspective of education or practice, educational practices. It may be in the school education, in higher education, in teacher education, or in other branches and other stages of education. Then second important component, that is review of related literature. So here, after selecting the research problem, you are supposed to analyze, you are supposed to find out the detailed status of this problem. That means what are the different researches have been conducted earlier relating to that problem, and what are the new things that have not been conducted. Then accordingly, after getting the research gap, then how your research will fill that gap. That means what are the innovations, what are the new things that you are going to include in your study that has not been conducted earlier. And the third stage is the research question. As a researcher, when you are conducting a study, definitely certain questions will be in your mind, and your effort is to get the answers of those questions. So that's why stating research question is also another important component or stage for conducting your dissertation, conducting your research in education. Then further, writing the objectives. As research is a very systematic and scientific activity, we have to proceed by following certain steps. So that's why without stating the objectives, you cannot conduct this study. Systematically, you cannot conduct this study. So that's why writing objectives is also another important aspect, and writing objectives or stating objectives should be based upon the research questions that already you have stated. Then after writing the objectives of your study, of your research, then the next work is to state or to write the hypothesis. So here there is the important work that you will be doing. You have to state, you have to write certain hypothesis. Okay, so here hypothesis will be deduced from the objectives. You should state the hypothesis as per the objectives, and you have to write the objectives as per the research questions. So here you see three things: research questions, then objectives and hypothesis. These are related with each other. First, certain questions are in your mind as a researcher. For getting the answer of those questions, you are stating certain objectives. That is the purpose of your study. Then to do a proper work and to verify the objectives, so what you will be doing, you have to state certain hypothesis. But now question arises whether stating hypothesis is is a compulsory or is one of the compulsory component of conducting research. Such questions it might be coming to your mind, but let me to say, without stating hypothesis, you can also conduct your study. So here the difference is, if your study is explorative in nature, that means no studies have been conducted in that area, and if you are the first person, if you are the first researcher that you are going to conduct certain new research, then you do not have any earlier base. So that's why if there is no base, no database is there, no experiences is there, no observation is there, okay, so without stating a hypothesis, you can conduct a study. But if many researches have been conducted and you are going through the results and findings of the study, so here there is the need to state the hypothesis, because already you have certain research base, you have certain ideas about the earlier researches. So how the researches have been conducted, what are the objectives, research questions, as well as what type of hypothesis they have stated earlier. So that will give you a prior information a first-hand information that such things have been conducted, and that research will be a base for you for conducting your research, and particularly for stating the hypothesis, as in this session we are discussing about the hypothesis. And the other important components, we have the paucity of time, so that's why I'm not going to explain the other components of the research, as we have to proceed towards to understand the very concept, theorization, as well as practice aspect of hypothesis. So just very briefly, let me to touch upon the other important components in conducting educational research, and then after we will enter to understand the very concept of hypothesis. The other important components are just like operational definitions of the topic that you have selected for your study, then delimitation of your study. So how you are delimiting your study, how you are making a fence of your study, how you are limiting your study, and from a broadness, from a largeness of your research problem, how you are deducing to a researchable form. So that's why you can also delimit your study in terms of area, in terms of population, variables, and other aspects. Then for the research methodology, what particular research methodology you are going to use in your study, going to follow in your study, just like the particular research method, it may be a survey method, it may be experimental method, or a philosophical method, or a historical method. So that you have to specify. And further, under the research methodology, the sample as well as the population, as well as the sample, what is the size of the sample, and what techniques you have selected for selecting the sample is also another important aspect. Then tools and its preparation. So what are the different tools that you have prepared or selected for conducting the study, for collecting data, that you have to also include, explain under the research methodology. And further, after getting the data, how you will analyze the data, what statistical techniques you have to use for proper analysis and interpretation of the data is also another important aspect, and that is come under the research methodology. And further, other important components are just like data analysis and interpretation. After getting the data, you have to analyze it and you have to interpret it to reach at the findings, to reach at the conclusion, or to reach at the result. And further, establishing findings, results, and discussion of the result is also another important component or step of your study. Then the last one is the references. So what are the different resources that you have used for writing your report, conducting the study? You have to make a list of it, and by following APA style or MLA style, you have to arrange, you have to organize the reference section. So these are the important components that you will be following for conducting your dissertation work in education. Now let us go forward to understand the very concept of hypothesis. First, let me to focus upon what is the justification and a need of stating hypothesis in educational research. First of all, what hypothesis does in educational research. Hypothesis directs the researcher or directs the study in a systematic way. So how to conduct the work in a systematic way, in a scientific way. As I have already said that starting from research problem, we proceed by following certain steps. Okay, so first identifying the research problem, then after reviewing the related literature, then writing the research questions, as per the research question to state the research objectives, and if there is the need as per the research objectives, so how to state the hypothesis. So that's why when we state the hypothesis, it means we are systematically in a stepwise manner we are proceeding in our research. Then further, it also helps in data organization and analysis. So how to organize data in a proper way as per the research objectives, and how to analyze the data also. So hypothesis also help us for proper organization and analysis of data. Then further, hypothesis determines specific tools and techniques to collect data, as well as use of statistical techniques for data analysis. So friends, here you see what tools we have used for conducting our study. So many a time you can also get certain inference, certain information from the hypothesis that what tools have been used, and further for verifying the hypothesis, for testing the hypothesis, we will be using certain statistical techniques. It may be a parametric statistical techniques or a non-parametric statistical techniques. So that's why hypothesis is related with certain statistical connotations. So you have to understand that hypothesis, you cannot state hypothesis haphazardly, and after stating the hypothesis, when it is the matter of testing the hypothesis, then definitely you will be taking help of certain statistical techniques. And further, it also helps to reach at the findings of the study in a very systematic way, because systematically, after getting the data, when you will analyze it, when you will analyze the data, and when you have to find out certain difference between two groups. If you want to find out certain relationship between two variables, so here you have stated your hypothesis accordingly, okay, to know the relationship or to know the difference. So when you will employ certain statistical technique, it may be correlation or it may be a t-test, which is called as a significance difference between two means. Okay, it may be t-test or it may be ANOVA. So that will lead you, that will help you to reach at the findings, to reach at the research results. So that's why these are the need and justification for stating hypothesis and making your research a systematic one. Then further, if I'll go through the other justification and need for stating hypothesis in your study, just like let me to go through the points. It restricts to go against the earlier developed theories and principles. Then stating hypothesis is a scientific way to conduct research. And finally, statement of hypothesis signifies the insight and involvement of the researcher in research. Try to understand these points. So first of all, it restricts to go against the earlier developed theories and principles. So many a time in research, you see research in education or any discipline, that is based upon certain theoretical construct, that is based upon certain theories and certain laws and certain principles. So many a time, if you state certain hypothesis which is going against the developed theories, against the established theories, so in this way hypothesis cannot be stated. So that's why hypothesis also help you aligning with the the theories or the principles that you have used so far as your variable is concerned. If you have taken 2 or 3 variables in your study, so how the first variable is related with the second variable. If I will give an example, let you have taken achievement with intelligence. Okay, academic achievement is one variable and intelligence is another variable. So this is the assumption and this is the research findings, the accepted research findings, that the learners who are having, or you can say the intelligent learners, highly intelligent learners definitely do better, or their academic achievement will be better. And in the other way, we can say the learners who have scored a very good mark or earned a very good grade. So if you go through their intelligence, then definitely you will find that they are in a group of superior intelligence. So that means we can say intelligence as a variable and academic achievement is another variable are having. If you find out the correlation between these two variables, you will find a very positive, high positive correlation among these two variables. So here, when you will state the hypothesis, your hypothesis shouldn't contradict this theory, because this is the accepted theory. But many a time, if such type of background is not there, then you can also state a hypothesis. But when there is a established fact, you cannot go beyond that established fact for stating the hypothesis. And another point, the need and justification of hypothesis, that also somehow signifies the involvement and the knowledge base, the understanding and research experiences of the researcher. Okay, so if you have a good control and good understanding, especially theoretical understanding as well as practice oriented understanding of that piece of research, that areas of research, then definitely as a researcher you can state a proper, a good hypothesis. So that's why these are the certain need and justification in stating hypothesis. Now, let me to go forward to understand the concept as well as the sources of hypothesis, that what are the different sources that we will be using for stating the hypothesis. First of all, literally meaning, if I will go through the very term of hypothesis, this has been deduced from two terms, two words, that's called as hypo. The meaning of hypo is less than, and thesis. The meaning of thesis is a truth. So that's why we can say that it is a statement of less than truth on a problem. So here you see hypo means less than and thesis means truth. So the very meaning of hypothesis that I can say it is less than truth. That means we are not saying that it is exactly truth. The exactly truth we have to establish when we will conduct this study, when we will analyze the data, and when we will interpret the data, and when we will reach at the findings, when we will reach at the result. But hypothesis says that first you assume, first you suppose certain things, certain truth, and basing upon that tentative supposition, basing upon that tentative hypothesis, that tentative truth, you have to proceed forward to reach at the real finding, to reach at the real truth. So that's why before establishing the real truth, first you have to assume what is the solution of this problem. Okay. Then accordingly, by assuming a certain solution of a problem, you have to proceed forward and you have to reach at the particular, reach at the exact solution or exact truth of that problem. This is the meaning of hypothesis. And further we can say hypothesis is an assumption about the solution of the problem. It is also a tentative guess of the result of the study. Hypothesis is also called as a supposition, and this is also called as an intelligent guess. So try to understand, it is a type of supposition, it is a type of assumption, okay, it is a type of tentative guess. That means you are guessing certain things, what is the solution of this problem, okay. But that is not the real solution. So real solution, when you will collect data by using a tool, and when you will analyze that data by using certain statistical techniques, and when you will verify it, okay. So when you will verify it, it means you have reached at the truth. So before reaching at the truth, for making your study a systematic one, you have to state certain hypotheses and you have to verify, you have to test those hypotheses. So when you are stating certain hypotheses, that means you are assuming certain things. You are hypothetically deducing, you are hypothetically saying that this is the solution of this problem. But that may be the real solution, or that may not be the real solution. So that's why there is the possibility of accepting the hypothesis or rejecting the hypothesis. Try to understand. Now let me to proceed forward to understand the very sources of stating hypothesis. In this session, after discussing the sources of hypothesis, we will conclude. In the next session, we will be discussing the types of hypothesis as well as how to write the hypothesis. So friends, now let us focus upon what are the different sources that we will be following, we will be using for stating the hypothesis. On your screen now, please go through different sources that you will be using for stating a proper hypothesis, exact hypothesis. First of all, the first source of stating hypothesis is experience of the researcher. I have already said that you are the researcher. You have already analyzed the theoretical construct. You have analyzed, you have understood, you have developed a type of understanding about the variable, the theories of the variable, the principles of the variable. So that's why you are the right person. You have understood the problem, so you can state a proper hypothesis. You can go for a proper assumption. Okay, you can take a proper assumption or a tentative guess of the research problem about the solution of that problem in your research. So that's why researchers' experience is the important source for stating the hypothesis. And the second source, that's called as background knowledge of the study. Okay, so background knowledge of the study, who has studied or who has accepted or who has experienced this background knowledge of the study. As a researcher, you have gone through the literature. As a researcher, you have gone through the theories. As a researcher, you have gone through the principles. So that's why you are the right person. You have already analyzed, you have already gone through the discourses of that research problem. So that's why you have the background knowledge. So accordingly, you can state a proper hypothesis, because in the related literature, the literature which is available, when you have studied that literature, you must have gone through the research question, the objectives, as well as the research hypothesis. Okay, so that will also help you to state a proper hypothesis for your study. And second is intellect to understand a theory. You have gone through the theory. I have already said that you have analyzed the variables. So when you have analyzed the variable, you have gone through the theoretical construct of it. That means how one theory or how one variable will impact upon other variables. As I have already said in one example, that how academic achievement will impact on intelligence, or you can say how intelligence is related, or how intelligence will impact upon academic achievement of the learners. So that's why this is the understanding of a theory will also help you for stating a proper hypothesis. Then again, analogies and arguments. So this is also, research is based upon certain logic, research is based upon certain analogies, research is based upon certain arguments. So whenever you will state a hypothesis, your hypothesis should be based upon certain arguments, certain logic. So that's why proper logic, proper arguments, proper analogies will also help you for stating a proper hypothesis. Again, scientific theories. Okay, I have already said that without theory, you cannot conduct a study. Any educational research is based upon certain theories, okay, certain established theories. So that's why the theories will provide you much information, much knowledge about stating hypothesis. Then authentic knowledge, okay, whether you have the authentic knowledge about conducting the study or not, whether you have gone through the you can say the original literature of the research problem that you have selected or not. And from the original literature, definitely you will get that how the problem is related with other problem, how it is correlated with other issues, how there is a difference between two observations. So that is also another important aspect for stating a proper hypothesis in your study. The literature studies, I have already said that the much earlier studies you will go through and you will analyze, then definitely you will come forward with certain knowledge base, certain clear understanding about your problem, objectives, as well as hypothesis. So that will also further help you for stating a proper hypothesis. Then expert opinion is also another important aspect. You have your supervisor. So when you will discuss, when you will interact with your supervisor, then your supervisor will tell you, basing upon his or her experience, that what type of relationship or what type of difference you will get in different observations. So your the expertise opinion will also further help you for stating a proper hypothesis. And finally, the literature which is available, I can give you the example of different open educational researches, as well as the Sodh Ganga. You will find in India all the PhD dissertations are that has been stored in an archive that's called as Sodh Ganga. Sodh Ganga will help you to go through the literature and find out that what are the difference or what type of hypotheses have been stated in earlier studies, and further that will help you for stating a proper hypothesis in your study. So friends, in this session we discussed different components of conducting educational research, and further we discussed about the very concept of hypothesis and what is the need and justification of stating hypothesis, as well as we have also studied about the very sources, what are the different sources that you will be using for stating the hypothesis. In the next session, we will be discussing tomorrow what are the different types of hypothesis and how you will state the hypothesis, practically how you can write the hypothesis. Thank you.
Do you wish to be part of a television studio like this or any other media system? Or already part of any media system, want to enhance a new set of skills? Welcome to School of Journalism and New Media Studies. Here in the School of Journalism and New Media Studies, we are offering program for all set of people to learn and enhance the media skills. The vision of School of Journalism and New Media Studies is to generate a new set of professionals in the area of media and communication studies with understanding about role of media in the national development and global understanding. We offer innovative programs in the field of journalism and mass communication that sets the benchmark of high quality learning and teaching process at the national level. We offer these programs across the country with the help of our regional network as well as study center. Same manner, many of our programs are offered through online mode with a sophisticated learning management system. SOGNMS offers programs from PhD in journalism and mass communication till certificate level. We have masters in journalism and mass communication. The eligibility is bachelor's degree, and we are introducing this program in 3 languages: Hindi, Tamil and English. Students from national and international students can join either through online mode as well as in the distance mode. We have 4 postgraduate diploma programs, specialized areas in the field of development communication, digital media, electronic media and journalism and mass communication program. And all these 4 programs are available in distance mode. 2 programs are available in online mode, development communication and digital media. And we have specialized certificate program in community radio. IGNOU employs various media and communication tools for better teaching and learning process. School of Journalism and New Media Studies utilizes this media system for delivering all our programs. Come and join with us for exploring a new career and enhance your media skills.
Hello learners, I Dr. Divya Ojha, Academic Associate Fashion Design from School of Vocational Education and Training, IGNOU, welcomes you all to this session on your program Certificate in Fashion Design, that is CFDE. So today's topic of discussion is your course 2, that is Basics of Pattern Making and Sewing. So learners, as you are aware and you know about the course structure and the program details, so in brief, I will just discuss about the course for the viewers who are listening to us for the first time. So this particular program, Certificate in Fashion Design, is meant about based on the details and the basic knowledge of the fashion design, and it's about the fashion industry. So this particular program, Certificate in Fashion Design, it is of total 16 credit program, which is for 6 months, and it has 4 courses. That is, course 1 is on fundamentals of fashion design. Course 2, that is basics of pattern making and sewing, on which we will be discussing today. Course 3 is introduction to fashion industry, and course 4 is communication and entrepreneurship. So in this program, that is Certificate in Fashion Design, you have to study this all 4 courses, that then you can get your certificate in fashion design. So today's topic of discussion is on course 2, that is basics of pattern making and sewing. So this particular course is of 4 credit, in which equal division is done on the theory and the practical. That is, theory is for the 2 credits and practical is of also 2 credit, because this course, basics of pattern making and sewing, it is totally skill based course, in which you will learn about how you will develop pattern for the garment construction, what are different types of patterns are there, what how we different types of sewing machines are there, that you will get to know how you will operate that sewing machine. Everything you will learn, and you will have the hands on that particular topics. So for that, the theory is given the credit of 2, and practical or also the 2 credit, to make you understand the skills better. So let me brief about this course, basics of pattern making and sewing. So there are 2 blocks and 1 practical manual, in which block 1, that is introduction to pattern making, block 2 is about the sewing techniques, and based on the theories which you will study in this particular 2 blocks, some activities are assigned that you have to perform, and you will understand their uses. So this is all you have to study in the course 2, that is basics of pattern making and sewing. So we will just focus on the block 2, that is sewing techniques, as we have already covered the block 1, pattern making. So this block 2, sewing techniques, it comprises of 4 units, that is unit 5, as 1 to 4 we have already discussed in the block 1. So unit 5 is handling of sewing machine. Unit 6 is about sewing needles and stitch formation. Unit 7 is basic sewing techniques, and unit 8 is about garment construction. So in this particular course, you have, or the block, you have to study the 4 units, which is specifically it is based on the sewing machine, and it's how you will develop the stitches, or what are different steps in the garment construction. Everything you will get to know in this particular block. So let's start with the unit 5, that is handling of sewing machine. So this particular unit, handling of sewing machine, will introduce you to the 3 types of the sewing machine. Like, what if you know about some students, they know about the sewing machine, but some are new to new for this sewing machine. So you will get to know how many types of sewing machine are there, what is their different parts, name of the parts you will get to know, what is the function of that part, why they are on the machine. That every aspect you will get to know in this particular unit, handling of sewing machine. So the main learning outcome, with what objective this unit has been developed, that after going through this unit, you can differentiate between the 3 types of the machine that we will be discussing right now, that is hand operated, treadle operated, or the electric or the motorized sewing machine. Then you can list and describe the parts of the single needle lock stitch machine. So single needle lock stitch machine is just another name for the machine which we use for our domestic purpose. And you can identify and explain the various parts of sewing machine and their function, what different parts of the machine are there, and what is the main function in the process of stitching we have to use, that you can understand from this unit. So the main key content on what major topic what we have to learn from this unit is the types of sewing machine. So generally we have the 3 types of sewing machine we have that we can use for our stitching or the garment construction purpose, that is hand operated, treadles, and electric sewing machine. So basically we have the 3 domestic used machine that are hand operated, treadle, and electric sewing machine. In that, as we all know, the fashion industry it has lots of demands, and we have to keep in pace with that. So rapid development in the sewing technology, we have introduced a wide variety of sewing machines. There are mainly three types of sewing machines we use, that is hand operated, treadle operated, or the electric or motorized sewing machine. So what is the basic difference between these three types of machines? So first is the hand operated that we all see at our homes. This is the basic sewing machine we have. So it is, as it from the name you can understand, that is, as it is hand operated sewing machine, so it is the operation of the machine is done through hand. So in the picture you can see and understand that on the right side there is one wheel onto which a handle is attached. So as we operate that handle, the machine starts moving and we get the fabric stitched. So this is the oldest form, and it is very slow as it is operated from by the hand. Who is person who is stitching the garment, they have to operate themselves with one hand, and they have to control the fabric with one hand. So it makes the process little slow. So it is operated by hand using the handle which is attached on the balance wheel. So this is the first type of the machine we use. Then the second is the treadle sewing machine. So treadle sewing machine is just the advanced version of the hand operated machine. So this machine is operated by using your feet. So the machine mechanism is the same, just what the machine it was in the hand operated, it is just fixed upon a table or a stand in which we have a treadle that is moved by when we move our feet on that, the machine start moving, and it is the balance wheel in the picture you can see and understand the wheel which is on the right side of the machine. It is attached with a belt which is attached on the treadle, and as soon as we start moving our feet on that, it moves the machine and we have the stitching process. So machine is placed on the stand that has a treadle on which the feet are placed, and the forward and backward movement of feet helps to run the machine. So this is the second type of sewing machine we use for the garment construction. And the third is the latest version we use, that is electric or motorized sewing machine. So this is very fast machine and it may be used both for the domestic and the industrial purpose. So that the balance wheel is attached to the motor with a belt. Like in the treadle machine, we had a belt just attached on the treadle which was under the table. But in this, that belt is attached with a treadle, but it is not operated from the feet, but it is operated just has a mechanism which we have to start with the machine, or it is electric controlled. So there is a treadle which has been pressed with your foot just to help to run the machine. Like on the treadle we have to move the feet forward and backward to run the machine. But in the electric or motorized, what we have to just press that treadle or a paddle which we have on the with the machine, and it is just have the connection of the electricity, and it starts running or starts moving the machine. So some domestic machine sewing machine brands, as we have heard about, that is Singer or Usha, that is for the domestic purpose. And for the industrial, that has more speed to get the stitching purpose more fast, that is the brand for the Jhuki and Brother. So these are the basic three types of the sewing machines we have to know about and understand their function. Then there are different parts of the sewing machines that we should know, that basic structure and function of all these three machines, whether it is hand operated, treadle operated, or the electric or motorized, the function and structure is almost same, but the mechanism is little bit different. So the main component are common for all these three types of machine, that we have the three major components of the machine, that are machine, bed and stand, machine, table and stand. Like we have the machine part, we have a table on that machine is fixed, and we have the stand for that particular machine. So we have to know that these are the three major component that all the three hand operated treadle or the electronic or the motorized machine has in that, have in that. Then the machine comprises of different sections or the part that we have to understand, and there are different parts. Like there are two things that you have to understand in the sewing machine. When you after this session, you can just see the sewing machine and correlate that what parts we have discussed. So there are 4 sections. Under that sections we have different parts on the machine. So the first part is the upright section. Like in the picture you can see and understand, the upright section is the right side of the machine. There is the balance wheel. So upright section, we have the part which is known as the balance wheel. Then we have the arm part, arm section of the machine. Arm section, the arm of the machine where we have the oil guide, where we have to, there are certain holes on that particular arm section of the machine where we put the oil to very easy operation of the machine and good function of the machine. We have the spool pin where we keep the thread spool to insert the thread into the machine. Then we have the stitch regulator, from where we can control the length of the stitch that is on the arm section. Then the third section on the machine is the bed part, the bed section, where we have the different parts such as feed dog. Feed dog is one part you can see in the lower bed section of the machine. That is a teeth like part on the machine which holds the fabric when you are stitching, and it makes the easy movement of the fabric. Then we have the throat plate. Throat plate is the part which controls on which the fabric is there when we are stitching the fabric, and bed for the fabric to hold the makes the needle to be inserted. Then we have the face section on the machine. On the face section we have the thread take up lever where we insert the thread, tension screw from where we control the tension, we can tighten or loosen the thread from there. We have the needle bar where we insert the needle in the machine. We have the pressure regulator from where we can control the pressure of the thread, and thread guide from where we have to take the thread from the spool pin, and following that thread guide we insert the thread into the needle which is on the needle bar. So these are different sections on the machine that you can see in the picture and understand. We have the upright section, then we have the arm section, bed and the face. All that is labeled, you can also see in your study material and understand in the better. So these are different sections and parts of the sewing machine that we have to understand, and as you start stitching the fabric or the garment, you will get to know how these parts get into the operation. So these are basic discussion we did on the unit 5, that is handling of sewing machine. Then unit 6 of this particular block is sewing needles and stitch formation. So this particular unit will make you understand about different practical aspects of the sewing machine. Like in the first earlier unit we discussed about the types of sewing machine and their parts, but now you have to do the practical, how what is the main function, how that particular balance wheel or the feed dog this work. So in this particular unit you will understand the practical aspect, you will have the hands on the sewing machine. So main learning outcome of this particular unit, sewing needles and stitch formation, is that you can set up and use the single needle lock stitch machine properly, and you can select and fix the right size of and type of needle in relation to fabric. So this is very important part that we have to understand from this unit, that the right size and the type of needle in relation to the fabric is very important. Recognize and describe different types of stitch formation, that there are different types of stitch formation and stitches in relation to the fabric that we have to understand, and you have to identify and rectify common sewing problems. Like when you start stitching on the sewing machine, you will face many small difficulties or problems that you have to recognize, and what is the main solution for that, that you can understand from this unit. So the first key content that we have to discuss, that function, structure and sizing of needle. Like needle, as we are talking about and learning about the sewing machine, so first important thing that we have to understand is the type of needle and function of needle. So needle is one of the most important thing or the part we have to use when we are using this sewing machine. So they in the study material we have discussed about the needle and its structure. Like we as when you see a needle, it just seems like a single steel pin or a just small thing, but when you study in detail about that particular needle, that have different parts, and it is not just a simple needle we have used. So it has the shoulder part, it has the point, it has the eye, it has the shank. So everything has to be understood. So that are the different structure and sizing of the needle. So sizing of the, we also have different type size of needle which we select according to the type of fabric we want to stitch. Like if we have a very fabric which is very heavy weight, suppose we are going to stitch jeans, or we are using a denim fabric, we cannot use the needle which we have for our regular fabrics like the woven or normal cotton fabric. So we have to select the needle size according to the fabric we are going to stitch, so that you will understand from this unit. Type of needle point, selection of needle, thread and stitch. Like type of needle points, generally we have 3 points or the 3 types of needle we use for the garment construction, that is round point, cutting point and the ball point. So round point needle, if you can recognize that round point needle with a point of a round, that we use for the woven fabrics. Woven fabrics means the general most of the fabric we use for the garment construction, we use the round point needle. Ball point needle we generally use for the knitted fabrics, and because if it is the cutting point or the round point, it will, if it is inserted into the fabric, it will distort the fabric. Then we have the third type or the point, that is cutting point. We generally use for the leathers, that we have to that goes should be very sharp, that we had lot to insert into that. So we use the cutting point for the leather. So now you understand round point we use for the woven fabric, we use the ball point for the knitted fabrics, and cutting point needle for the leather. So these basically these 3 types, 3 point of the needles we have. Then thread and stitch, selection of needle, thread and stitch. So these 3 terms needle, thread and stitch are very much correlated, because the type of fabric we are using for the construction of garment, it equally depends upon the type of needle we will select, thread also, and what the length of the stitch will be. It also depends upon the fabric. Suppose we are using a cotton fabric, the needle which will be using, the number will be between 11 to 14, the size of the stitch will be small, and the thread which will be using, that will be the cotton. So we have to select everything according to the type of fabric we are using. Then the size of the fabric and the yarn. So as the finer the yarn, the finer will both the needle and thread will be. Like for the heavyweight fabric, we will use the large number of needles, the needle with a larger number. Then needle type relate to fabric structure. Like as right now we discussed, round point for the woven fabric, ball point for the knits, and the cutting for the plastic and leathers. Then thread type is also chosen, which is compatible with the fabric structure and the fiber content. Like for example, we use the cotton thread for the cotton fabric, and the stitch length also depends upon the fabric type or the fabric weight. Like thinner the fabric, or the as the lightweight fabric we have, the shorter will be the stitch on that particular fabric or the garment. Suppose you have seen a garment which is of georgette fabric, the stitch length, if you have anytime if you have seen, the stitch length is very small. But if you see the denim or your jeans, the stitch length is little bit larger from that, because the fabric weight is different from the lightweight to the heavyweight. So it also depends on the type of fabric we are using. So in this particular table, you can see and just get a idea what type of stitch length and everything you can use for your stitching purpose. So as learners, we discussed these two unit 5 and 6 of your block 2, sewing techniques. So in the next session we will try to cover the left units. So if you have any query on these two units, you can write us on cfde@ignou.ac.in. We can answer all your queries there. Thank you so much.